In order to keep a security travel, we have a very strict prohibited item list from the railway police. Today we are going to look into it. Not only like ammunition and also knives are not allowed. There are a lot of very other items that are not allowed. So today we have Mr. Li Shaozhong from the rail police. Ladies and gentlemen, dear netizens, good morning. I'm very glad to meet you. We can see that Mr. Li is very sharp. Today we are going to talk about what items are not allowed to carry on. And he's going to give us a lecture on that regard. I'd like to ask, if you have accumulate some of the prohibited items, where do you put? We will have a fixed store spot, and I'll take you there. Mr. Li told us that there will be a fixed point to store all those prohibited items, and we are going to that store. This is the store that we are going to put all of the banned items. Usually it's locked and passengers are not allowed to come in. We see that there are a lot of boxes. These are all the banned items that we got from the passengers, including some ammunition and also very usual stuff such as nail polish and also other stuff such as flammable or combustible items. So each day we will have around several hundred items put into this warehouse, because we have to put safety in the first place. So we need to destroy these items regularly. So we will destroy these items routinely so as to avoid any dangerous event. So this is fruit knife, controlled apparatus, some hammer, scissor, and also lighters, etc. There are a lot of stuff here. And for farmer migrators, these are the tools that they normally use. And we see that there are some small boxes that are already packed. We will categorize these items and destroy them by categories. With the passenger flows going up, we take over more and more banned items. Currently, we have the passenger flow is around 56,000 people, and during the travel rush there will be more. As the passenger flow go up, the banned items we take over will go up as well. Thank you so much. As the passenger flow goes up, we will also tighten our security check. Especially, it will give a great pressure on the shoulders of these security check staff. Yes, because we definitely need to create a very safe environment for the passengers. Safety comes first. And we also did some research. We noticed that there is a prohibited items list written. How many categories are there? Currently, there are 6 categories, including a very wide range of items, such as firearms, explosive items, flammable or combustible items, acutely toxic, corrosive, radioactive stuff, etc. So, Mr. Lee and his colleagues also have set up this table to show to the passengers what kind of stuff are not allowed to get on board. And some of them are very apparent, and some of them are very difficult to identify because we usually would take for granted that these are allowed. So the first category is firearms. Firearm can be comprises a lot of items, such as guns, handguns, etc. Rifles or police firearms. Also, the bullet is not allowed as well, because within the bullet, there is gunpowder inside it. They are also very flammable. And this is simulated gun. It is controlled apparatus. It is not within the category of firearms, but it's still not allowed. Some netizens also ask, is alcohol allowed or not? I can guess that it's not allowed, because this is baijiu, which is a white spirit in China, and this is not allowed because the alcohol content is very high in this kind of spirit. It's very flammable and it's also liquid. Since this is a very high alcohol content liquid, so it's very flammable. That's why it's not allowed. Our netizen is also very active in participating in this session. So one gorgeous netizen also asked if we can have our eyebrow scissor on board. If it is very small, it's fine. But if it is bigger, then not.
So let's continue our conversation. The first category is the bullets and the guns. And these are the counterfeits of the guns. There are several types of the guns, like military guns and civil guns, and this belongs to counterfeits. Like this one. As I was born in 1970s, this one is the gunpowder type. I made this since I was young. Now the structure of these guns is very familiar to us, and we use matches. And this is still very dangerous because it can shoot.
现在请到的是沈阳铁路公安处的反恐支队的李政委来给我们大家介绍一下，在春运期间咱们上火车有哪些东西不能带。刚才讲了这个枪支和子弹是不能带上车的，这里面包括仿真枪，包括反鬼手枪，这种打火机啊。反恐支队的李政委。
对。PP弹的，对。这个东西比较常见了，现在这些物品比较常见了。
And these are the knives. These are common. These are hammers. And it's very clarified in the catalog, in the policy, that these are not allowed to bring in the trains, because once there are some accidents, this will hurt the passengers. So these brutal knives and tools are not allowed to bring to the trains. But I can see that there are some scissors and small knives. These are very common. These are for fruits. And these are also not allowed to bring to the trains. It's actually not regulated in the laws, but these are restricted products because this can also hurt the body. So whenever we see this, we have two ways of treatment. The one is we can dissolve these knives for the passengers, and the second choice is if there are friends who see you off, you can give these knives to your friends and they can bring back. But on the right side, these bigger knives are controlled. These are controlled and clarified in the laws. So what are the controlled apparatus? The first one is the spring knife. So once the spring pulled out, it cannot be back. So this is really dangerous. And another one is another sharp knife. It looks like this, but it's thicker. So it's really fatal. It's really dangerous. So it's very clear in the laws and regulations that a dagger is not allowed to bring onto the trains. So if passengers who bring controlled knives, we may give legal sanction to them. So if it's serious, we do not only take over their knives, but we need to bring them to the police. The differences are like we need to consider the length of the knife and also the angle of the knife. If the length is over 1.5 centimeters, that's the control that belongs to the controlled knife. And if the angle is smaller than 60 degrees, that also belongs to the controlled knives. So please be careful. The longer knives are controlled knives. Even in public, these knives are not allowed. So if you take these knives onto the trains, you will receive legal sanction. And for these smaller knives and scissors, they are not controlled apparatus. So you can bring them back. And when netizens asked about the liquor and spirit, white spirit is not allowed to bring onto the trains because it's very flammable and combustible. Nowadays, the regulations, if it's not labeled and the liquor and the wine are packed well, you can take some limited number of bottles. This is not exactly written in the law, but we have regulations in the railway stations. So even if the wine, the spirit is sealed, but if there is accident on the train, if it poured out, it's still very dangerous. So if there are restrictions that you can keep it sealed during the whole journey, you can take it.
We have talked about two categories currently. So firearms is one category. And for kitchen knife, it's a very usual item that we used a lot. If you carry this kind of item on board, it can still endanger other passengers. So for this is another item that is prohibited. Sometimes you take this nunchucks as a play toy and you use it to exercise. However, it is very powerful. If you don't take it to the public area, you just keep it indoor in your own house, then it's fine. However, you cannot take it into the public. And this is another item that is listed in the controlled apparatus. It is called expandable baton. You see that some of part of its body is hidden, but we have very strict rule in this controlled apparatus. So we will check very carefully in each items, in each hazardous items. And later we will go to the security checkpoint and go to that facility to talk about more. And sometimes people will bring fruit knife on board and put it inside in the pocket, or just put it into the luggage, in a hidden corner of the luggage, and then try to bring it on board. Is it fine? Actually, that happens a lot. I'll give you an example. Just 2 days ago, in this North Railway Station in Shenyang, there is this passenger who's brought luggage and put this small fruit knife in the compartment, in a hidden compartment of that luggage. And we found it, and we asked him, if you have brought a knife inside your luggage. He denied. Sometimes he could be just have forgotten the fact that there is a knife in the luggage, and sometimes they're just too good at deception. Even if you have hidden it in the compartment of the luggage, we can still find it out from the equipment. And we will open your luggage and check it manually. After we open the luggage and we find it, we search it thoroughly. We found it in a corner in the layer. And the passenger was very surprised. He didn't think that our security check can be this thorough and this strict. Then we explained to him that we really need to keep every passenger safe, and then he understood. Sometimes passengers would think that this is just a small fruit knife and we used it a lot. Why should it not be allowed? But actually it can still be very risky to take it on board, because this is a lethal weapon. It can be a lethal weapon. Sometimes the passengers will hide it in the interlayer of the luggage, or just put it in their underwears. Don't do it, because even if you hide it in a very good manner, we can still spot it. It is a very similar to the X-ray in the hospital. No matter how many layers you cover the item, we can still spot it. In order to keep your trip safe, please follow our regulation. Keep yourself and keep other passengers safe. Try not to bring this kind of items on board. Okay, there is another thing I don't understand. This is a flashlight. Why cannot we bring it on board? This is a flashlight indeed. However, you can use it to electrify other people. It's similar to an electric baton. So I caught one passenger who brought it, and I asked him, why do you need that? He said, I try to use it to protect myself. So if there are some people who subject to heart attack, etc., this kind of item can trigger that scenario. And how about this? What's this? I've never seen it before. If you're too young, if you're from the 80s or 90s, you might be very it might be similar. You just put it on your fist. This is another defense apparatus, and it is also can be very powerful. It's a controlled apparatus. Also, this one is not allowed as well. This is the slingshot. For small kids, We use it as a play toy. However, it's very powerful. Its shooting length can be very long. And also its strength is very big. Sometimes the passengers can think that this is just a very small play toy for the kids. But yeah, you can consider it as a play toy when you are at your home, but we will not consider it as a play toy in this public area. How about this one? What's this? This is a cartridge model for the trainer. Don't panic. This is just a model. And we also took it over from one passenger. For example, if you take this counterfeit item on board, why do you need to take it? Some other passengers will feel panicked. Even if it's fake, the other passengers cannot recognize. Okay, so now we have talked about the controlled apparatus. Next is the third category, which is the flammable or combustible items. This is the lighter oil. It's a flippable. It's for flippable lighter. It is already written on the product that this is highly flammable and it's a highly dangerous item. And it is also not allowed to take on board. And this is another product for disposal lighter, and you see that it's marked on the package that this is also flammable or combustible. Okay, this is spray paint. You can spray on the wall to write some sentence. It is also very flammable.
Like during the Spring Festivals, many families would like to light the fireworks. Are they also flammable and combustible? Or these are explosives? Because in all the fireworks, there are gunpowders. As the Spring Festival is approaching, I would like to remind dear passengers, the Spring Festival is a time for reunion, for family gathering. You can light fireworks, but you can never bring it on the trains. It's really dangerous because it's explosive. And also the firecrackers are very dangerous. They can be as dangerous as the boom. And because we are in a closed area on board, it can be even more dangerous. And even through the friction of the materials or from the bodies, these fireworks can light on. And this one is also very dangerous because there is pressure inside once it's light on, and this can hurt greatly. And there is an odd thing. Why the plastic belt, why the tapes cannot be brought on board? because passengers would like to take this to pack their luggage. So people are confused, are puzzled why this cannot be brought on board. For this material itself is not dangerous, but with other assistance, like if there is fire, if this one is caught on fire, it will produce a kind of gas. The gas is very dangerous. And this is not flammable, but it can be combustible, and it will produce the toxic gas after it's burned. And these are daily tools. So before traveling, if you want to pack your luggage with these tapes, you can use it, but do not take the rest of the tapes with you on board. So after entering the station, if you found you need some tapes, you can ask from the railway station, the official office, for help. There are 1, 2, 3, or 6 service booths here. They will offer necessary help to the passengers. So if your luggage is broken, you can either ask the railway police or the service booth for help. But please do not bring this on board, because after the combustion, it will produce toxic gas, which will poison the passengers. And this is the lighters, and this one is for the female. Lighters are so common. It's restricted. Actually, this size of 5 lighters for the passengers, they can bring 2 of them on board. But actually, 1 is enough. These are also explosives, and the gas inside are flammable, and also the liquid. For example, if you stick like 100 lighters together, that's the explosive lighter. That's very dangerous. So please do not take too many of the lighters. At most, you can bring 2 of them. And now let's introduce the products, the particles of women. And this one is the hair mousse. Every day, we take the nail polish and hair mousses. These are the most common products we take over every day. And this is also inflammable. And there is mark here. This mark refers to inflammable materials. It's the mark is a triangle with a fire signal inside. So if there is pressure, this will be caught on fire through the friction or bump or pressure. It will be caught on fire. This is not definitely controlled. It's restricted. Every lady can bring less than 120 milliliters of it. So even if the bottle is 400 milliliters and you have used 3/4 of it, you cannot bring it. because the pressure is still big. So we need to look at the bottle, the size of the bottles. Even if you have used half of the bottle, if the bottle is it's over 120 milliliters, you cannot take it with you. So even if it's almost used up, you cannot take it with you. It's not allowed. And many girls who love beauty, they would like to make their nails polished. So what's wrong with nail polish? Yeah, everyone loves beauty. These are daily used items. But nail polish is also inflammable because the ingredients, the content inside is inflammable. This is not strictly controlled. It's restricted. Everyone can bring less than 20 milliliters of nail polish. This one is 15 milliliters. So this is allowed. But if you take a very big bottle of nail polish, it's not allowed. How about 2 bottles of it? No, just 1 bottle. Maybe some girls, they take nail polish of different colors, so these will be taken over. But if you just bring 1 small nail polish, that's okay. Because it will be very dangerous. Security often comes the first. And some items are not listed here. Also the perfume. Perfume is inflammable. Also the spray, because it's also inflammable and combustible. Is it strictly controlled or is restricted? As perfume is a combustible liquid, so it's not allowed to bring on board. It's controlled.
Perfume is an item that we can neglect a lot because we thought it is fine to bring it on board. Actually, it's not allowed. This is all for your own interest. During the travel rush, one big group, it's the farmer migrators. Sometimes they will bring some kitchen knife or hammer with them. We also need to remind them that these are not allowed. Sometimes the paint or coating are not allowed during the these are decoration materials, and we thought this is fine to bring them on board because they are not flammable or combustible. However, I would like to reiterate that our trains are all very clean, and the railway police had one regulation that if you bring any items that can make the train dirty, such as this oil paint, if it's leaked, then it's very dangerous. It's very difficult to clean them, and it will also emit a very irritable odor. That's something we didn't know as well, because we never thought that dirty stuff or pollutant stuff cannot be taken on board, such as the decorative material or something that can be leaked easily. including this some snacks or some food that has very irritable odor or that's very smelly. Mr. Lee, I also did some research before this interview. There is one thing that some people want food. Some people like it a lot. Some people dislike it a lot. And this item or this food is not allowed on board because the food creates a very strong odor. This kind of product or food is not allowed to take on board because smelly food can have a very great impact, negative impact, on the total environment of the train. For example, durian. Durian is not allowed to take on board because it has very strong, smelly odor. Some people like it. Some people really abhor it. In the public area, most of the people will not like it. So some people even think that, even though some people think that durian is just a fruit, and it will not endanger the other passengers. However, it can create unpleasant feeling to the other passengers. That's why this kind of smelly odor food is not allowed to take on board. Why don't you just have some normal fruits such as apples, pears, etc.? Also, there are a lot of netizens also ask. We know that alcohol is not allowed, and this is retailed white spirit. How about this bottle? What's that? This is a fragrance. What kind of fragrance is it? Is it chemical stuff? Yes. You can smell it. It's very irritable. Is it inflammable item? Firstly, it's a pollutant. Also, it has irritable odor. It is not inflammable though. Speaking of inflammable item, the most usual stuff is oil, diesel. It has a very low combustible point. And these items are completely not allowed. If you take these products or these items, you will face justice. I can explain it in detail. So we've already talked about these usual or normal items. Is there any other stuff that we haven't talked about? Contagious, acutely toxic items are not displayed on the table. For example, mouse toxin, some detergent, and also some peptide, etc. Some people would take for granted that cyanide is allowed. Actually, it's not. During our daily routine work, we also caught some farmer migrators who are older brought this kind of product on board. They thought that this is for my own house use. Maybe I could take it. Actually, it's not. Because this kind of product or item, if it is released to the public, then it can lead to very serious consequence. It's highly toxic. Also here, I would like to remind dear passengers, please pay attention that these items are not allowed. Try not to take some potential danger in the public, especially when it's very crowded. Also, some people who has pet or who would like to bring some living food, such as living poultry or even some mice pet. Can we also bring these on board? That's a good question. That's a good question. Sometimes during the Spring Festival holiday, when we go to visit our relatives, we will bring some living fish, living chicken. These are all not allowed to take on board because they are living lives. All these living bodies cannot be taken on board. You can take the frozen food of them. However, pet is also not allowed. However, one animal is excluded. Okay, so Mr. Lee just gave us a very interesting question. One living animal, pet, can be taken on board. Is it guidance dog? Seeing eye dog. But we need to check the identity of this guide dog. We know that every guide dog has its identity, has its registration code. When we identify this guide dog, we will ask, does it have an identity? Is it registered? The reason why we need to ask this is to prevent the fact that maybe this guide dog has contagious disease. All guide dogs are trained. These dogs will not endanger any passengers, and their characters are all very mild. These guide dogs are just like the eye of the blinded people. So if you want to take your guide dog to get on board, please do have its documents with you. Some of these products we see on the decks are very normal products, and some people also ask how many white spirit can we take on board. So Mr. Lee has already given us a very detailed introduction of each items. Okay, there is one more thing I would like to add on. Oxygen. It's very usual product, but it's very inflammable. However, in one scenario, oxygen can also be brought on board.
That's another quiz for you. Oxygen bottle cannot be brought on board. Maybe there are some patients with a serious disease. They can bring a bag of oxygen to keep breathing. In daily life, there are some patients, we call them key patients. They got very serious diseases, so they have oxygen bags with them. These medical oxygen bags for the patients can be brought on board because that's to keep the vital signs of the patients. So I wonder, for these items, if the quantity is limited, we can give it to our friends or to the service center of the railway station. What if people take numerous or bunches of items? Will they receive a legal sanction? For these controlled items, these are within the range of laws. If passengers take these items and we checked it out, So according to the railway laws and the relevant laws, and according to the situations, the passengers will receive legal sanctions and punishment, and some may even break the civil law, and it might be criminal as well. And for these restricted items, they will not receive legal sanctions. But if they hurt the other passengers with their lives, that's another story. So please be very careful. Some items may break the law. Whenever it hurts the life, people's life, the body, you will receive a legal sanction. Like days ago, we took over one controlled knife, and he was arrested in the police for a week. So please keep in mind, never bring these controlled knives. This is a terrible thing. And there are also some ladies bring these knives. They use this to defend themselves. And one netizen asked, how about the hair color spray? And some of them are restricted to less than 100 milliliters. For the cold sperm, that's okay, but it's restricted to 100 milliliters. And the dye is also restricted. It's restricted to 20 milliliters. And during the Spring Festival travel rush, there is travel load. Whenever there is shake and friction, the flammable and combustible items may be exploded. And I wonder, if I use a bottle of drinks and I put gasoline in the bottles, how can you identify that? This is a good question. For the bottles of drinks, if people put gasoline inside, at first it's liquid. Our inspection instrument can identify the liquid through colors, because different colors of liquids show different X-ray in the screen. Like the liquor and the gasoline, they show different colors on the screen, so we can identify whether the liquid is oil or gasoline. All the inspectors have received special trainings, and they know all the standards of the X-ray. So which netizen asked about this? So, because that's my question actually. And some netizens asked about the small fish or turtles in the water. Can they bring it? No, all the live animals are not allowed, except the certified guide dog. Also, if the animals have the testing certificates, and that's for special use, maybe you can apply for it. And there are many questions on the internet. And how about the liquid in the glass? Like the glucose those are the oral liquid. They are very small. Yeah, that's okay because it's medicine. So now let's go to the safety inspection entrance. You mentioned about the X-ray
imaging.
and you mentioned about the color imaging. I'm still confused. So now we are in the area of the safety inspection entrance. And there are some large facilities. These are the inspection facilities. Let's have a look. Let's have a look of the color imaging. They are doing shifts. Our audiences can see the screen. Are there any controlled materials here? It's very clear. Okay. And this is very effective. This security inspection is not only for the other passengers but also for the passenger who bring this luggage, because everyone's safety is not its own safety but also the whole family's safety. So here there are some accidents, like there will be theft around this entrance. This is also a good question. In the past, we had some incidents that people take the wrong bags or some people's luggage are missed. So how to prevent these incidents? So please come to the station as early as possible so you can leave more time for safety inspection. Do not hurry and queue in order. For example, there is a way from the entrance to the safety inspection desk.
Follow our instruction, and when the luggage is in the device, the passengers can pass through and get your own luggage, just in case some other passengers take your luggage on purpose. And also we need to prevent this case that the luggage is already passing through, but the passenger is not there. Also, when you put the luggage in the device, do not step one luggage on another. In case that when there are more and more passengers there, some other passengers will take your luggage mistakenly, because some of your luggages are very similar. If you lose your luggage, sometimes you will call the police and then you ask for help. It's very troublesome. Sometimes when some of the passengers take 4 luggages and they pass the luggages on the device, sometimes I'll just take 3 of them and forget 1. So I would ask the passengers to mark your luggage so that it can be easy to identify. For example, currently there are several luggages. Because it's not that crowded, you can get your luggage easily. There is another question from netizen. Because for girls, we need to bring a lot of girls' stuff such as cosmetics products with us. Can we bring our moisturizers in lotion. It's fine, although it's liquid, but they're not inflammable. You want to, for example, the moisturizers, the cream, and also the cleaning stuff, it's all fine. Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Lee, for your thorough introduction, because it really relates to everyone, every passengers. We all need you to keep safe, keep your safety, and please do not carry any banned or restricted items on board. This is for your own and the station as well as other passengers' interest. We really ask for your understanding, because this small gesture really relate to your own safety. Currently, a lot of people are going on the way to go back to your hometown. I wish you a safety trip and a safety journey. Thank you so much for watching. That's all for our live broadcasting.